Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, a Monday episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. Meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello, joined by meteorologist Holly Baker, back from Ohio.
I know, it's my first time there, and it was lovely. Cleveland is really nice.
Yeah.
It's way better than I thought it was going to be. The weather was nice. It turned out perfectly. And then I got back, and that's when all of everything else was happening, like all of the flooding. That's been the story of the entire weekend. And I got back straight to that, and it was so devastating to see all of the damage that was done with all of the flooding that's been happening.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be our big story all week long. But that's, of course, what we're going to start with on this Monday, just recapping everything that we saw. So southeast Wisconsin obviously slammed with more than a foot of rain this weekend. Communities across our area, Milwaukee to Waukesha to Tosa and beyond, dealing with flooded basements, stranded vehicles, and just a soaking mess. So let's start off in West Dallas. Let's check out what neighbors had to tell us after the storm.
I was freaking out. I ran back upstairs and I was just having a bit of a panic attack.
So you can barely see the 2019 Honda Civic. It was parked on 83rd Street, which is a few blocks away from State Fair Park. These are videos from early Sunday. Now, when the water finally receded, the car was found on the curb. Others were told that their car was floating, including in an underground parking lot of this apartment building. Ugh, it's just so many images like that. And now to Waukesha. We've seen pedestrian bridges closed, streets sunken, cars stuck submerged in water, that is. Although some people fished and canoed in the flooding, others are navigating devastation. We spoke with the family who crews rescued on Saturday because the water rose so fast. Everything they had in their basement, years of memories, was on their lawn yesterday drying out.
We left the Mars Cheese Castle at 11:20 and didn't get in the stadium until 1:30.
How long does it usually take?
That probably takes like, what, 30 minutes? So it's probably an extra hour and a half.
Look at that video. Oof. That's American Family Field, as you can see, completely flooded, Holly.
Yes, so the parking lot of American Family Field looked more like a lake this week. While it definitely made getting to the game more difficult, that didn't stop fans from showing up. While the Brewers went ahead with the game Sunday, they understand the weather changed the plans for some fans. Fans with tickets or prepaid parking passes, rather, who couldn't attend, received a credit on their account, which is great for them to attend another game this season. The team says it also is planning to a second T-shirt giveaway. So the Brewers thanked all the fans that showed up anyways for their support on that game on Sunday.
Still a big game, too.
Yes, it is. And then on several roads are still closed in Menominee Falls due to flooding. As of 6:20 this morning, Menominee police shut down Menominee Avenue at Main Street, Mill Road from Lannon Road to Mercy Road, Lily Road from Eastwood Drive to Good Hope Road, Lannon Road north of Silver Spring to Jackson Drive, and Falls Parkway at Roman Drive.
So just incredible knowing that there are still roadways that are closed down because of flooding. Obviously, you know, Saturday night into Sunday morning, anybody who had to travel, especially Sunday, there were still lanes closed from all the flooding. There were still, you know, those low-lying roadways underneath the bridges that were closed because of standing water. Even today, even midday through Monday, there are still some roads that are closed.
Lots of roads closed still.
It's going to take some time. And the National Guard is going to be helping out in Milwaukee County. Some good news there. Governor Evers posted on X saying that, in part, he approved the National Guard vehicles and operations to help support Milwaukee County's response to severe flooding that affected the region last night. We are continuing to monitor flooding, especially as several counties continue to remain under flash flood warnings. And then Republican Congressman Brian Stile is calling for help in Wisconsin as well. He says Milwaukee Milwaukee County and surrounding areas need assistance following massive rainfall and flooding. I have called on President Trump and FEMA for assistance. He says I am in contact with local officials monitoring the situation and stand ready to assist.
And we have a little bit more of the better conditions today, though, compared to this weekend. And part of the cleanup today is figuring out what to do with the water-logged items people cannot salvage. So in the city of Milwaukee, there are 2 drop-off centers for large items. They're open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. through Sunday. And this is at no cost to all of the flood victims and more support for those who need it. The American Red Cross says they have a shelter open at Holler Park. That's near the intersection of 6th and Abbott. The shelter offers food, water, and a place to charge your phone and emotional support during this time.
And then the state fair, we haven't talked about it yet, but the last day was canceled because of all of the flooding. So they were impacted Saturday night as well to start. And then, of course, Sunday, the flooding, as we just talked about, forced thousands to evacuate the Wisconsin State Fair Saturday evening, ultimately shutting down the fair early. The fair did not open yesterday either, which would have been the last day for good reason, of course. Now, those who had tickets, though, can exchange them for tickets to next year's fair or get a refund. The fair plans to fulfill those exchanges in mid-September. Organizers say they will share more information in the near future. In the meantime, please hold on to your tickets as well as your vouchers. And there were so many events happening Saturday night. Leonard Skinner was supposed to be the headliner at the State Fair, so that, of course, was canceled. Thomas Rhett was at Alpine. I believe that show was delayed, but ended up getting in, so some good news there. Some of our southern communities did not see as much, especially early on. And then Summerfest, there was a concert, too, and I believe that one had to be postponed as well. So there was, it was a prime weekend in Milwaukee, a million things going on. So never fun to have stuff like this on the weekend, but this really and truly was a historic event that we saw in the Milwaukee area.
Because it's been years since we've seen something like this in the area. So hopefully, we don't see anything else like this week with some of the rain chances.
Yes.
You're going to update us on those coming up here.
Yes, unfortunately, we do have another rain chance. Thankfully, it does look a lot lighter, and it comes tomorrow, which means today is mostly going to be dry. Let's just recap what we experienced, though. This is radar looped from Saturday night into Sunday morning. So you could just see how those storms developed over Waukesha and Milwaukee County and stayed there, eventually drifting up towards the north a little bit. And then we still saw a few rounds Sunday morning as well as late last night. So we really did see 2 days of heavy rain throughout southeast Wisconsin. Now, what we're, of course, focusing in on is that Saturday night into our pre-dawn hours on Sunday, that batch of thunderstorm activity through Waukesha and Milwaukee County. So a couple of different factors here. I do think number one, the low-level jet kept those storms going and kept them strong. A lot of storms during our overnight hours, they weaken a lot because we don't have the energy, we don't have the daytime heating, but when that low-level jet kicks in, it keeps those storms going. And also a really important factor, we saw training and what we call back building, meaning, and you can look at some of this, these storms just feed off of each other and continue to develop on top of each other, keeping the rain, and heavy rain at that, in the same area, impacting the same areas over and over again. Very hard to predict a 10-inch plus rainfall event. We had a flood watch for most of southeast Wisconsin. Milwaukee was actually added a little later than inland areas. With our high dew points, we knew heavy rain was going to be a possibility, but certainly not to this extent. And radar estimates actually put it into perspective a bit more as far as the broader area that saw the really heavy rain. Most within this purple and white color will say at least 6-7 inches, but we know that at the top, parts of Milwaukee picked up 14.5 inches of rainfall and some more. That was an isolated total. Some other totals around those areas, though, were still between 10 and about 12 inches. So it was a wild weekend in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. Here are storm reports over the last couple of days. There was also severe weather across the Midwest, too, but I specifically want to zoom in on Wisconsin. So our active weather was late Saturday night into Sunday morning, but before we saw our active weather, northern Wisconsin, including Green Bay. Remember, we were watching the Packers preseason game. Thankfully, the storms ended in time, but there was severe weather, including tornado warnings south of Green Bay, and unfortunately, some really bad wind damage across Door County. And then we, of course, got our batch of the severe weather. So there is a slight chance for a pop-up storm today, more so Tuesday, a better chance for some showers and thunderstorms. You can see the heavy rain outlook is low here locally, and it looks like this for tomorrow as well. But just zooming in a little bit more, we still have a chance for additional rain, which is really what we don't want, even though it does not look to be in any way to the extent to what we just saw over the weekend. We still could see some spots, maybe a quarter to a half an inch by the time we end Tuesday. We've got a low pressure system towards the north and one towards the south, and we'll see some of this southernmost rain start to work its way up towards the north. Also very active in the southeast. Just named a new tropical storm way out in the Atlantic. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but there's already a lot of moisture in the southeast right now. Thankfully, no flood headlines for us here locally besides river flood warnings. Those are going to continue likely through the end of the week. All the flood headlines for today are down towards the south and southeast. Now, zooming in a little bit more on what we have towards the south of us, you can see south of Omaha all the way through Illinois. Most of this is kind of sitting in its own little area right now, but it's all fueled from that low pressure system and cold front, and that cold front will eventually roll through our area on Tuesday. So dry for now. I think most of the state will remain largely dry today. The Chicagoland area will likely continue to see storms. But overnight into tomorrow morning, you can see a few different areas moving in to southeast Wisconsin as a whole. This is right around 6, 7 a.m. That'll likely continue through your midday hours, so kind of a soggy start to Tuesday, especially for those of us here in the south. And then as that cold front rolls through, we could see more of a line develop, bringing us a chance for storms then your dinner hour through about 10 o'clock Tuesday night. And then Wednesday, high pressure sets in, stays with us all the way through Friday, so we see more sunshine. Now, we're not going to experience the high heat like we had Friday and last Saturday. That was the other factor. Milwaukee hit 94 before those rain showers and thunderstorms rolled in, but there's still more heat out west. There are heat headlines in effect for a good chunk of the west coast. That's where high temperatures, places like Phoenix 111, potentially 100 for Portland, Oregon. That is not normal. We are going to stay in the 80s for the rest of this week. Today it's still going to be a little toasty, likely middle 80s for high temperatures, especially for those of us down south. But then we will continue to drop as we see that Tuesday evening cold front roll in. So a lot closer to normal Wednesday into Thursday, but then we start to heat up again because of some of that west coast heat moving in over the weekend. So we still have some heat that will eventually return, but for now, after the rain, we're going to settle things down a little bit.
Right. So I like that in the middle of the week we get this little break.
Me too.
And then at the end of the week we warm up again. You know what though? I would trade whatever just happened over this weekend as far as the flooding for the warm temperatures and the sunshine.
Agreed.
Like any day I would. But I mean, flooding wasn't the only issue that we were dealing with this weekend with the storms. There was a lot of lightning too. Mm-hmm. We take a look back at Tom's coverage from early Sunday morning as he explains how we can detect lightning strikes on radar.
Well, notice, and it's updating here, so 68 lightning strikes in the last 5 minutes. In that box, that's 13.6 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes per minute in this area. So 10 to 15 lightning strikes per minute. So we're actually able to track that as well, which is really wild. And then these are the new ones. So when it lights up yellow like that, those are the latest light. Look at them all. I mean, like 4 lightning strikes in this batch of storms, all just within the last couple of seconds, courtesy of the National Lightning Detection Center, NLDN, which is where we get that data from. So isn't that interesting? But again, these are all the lightning strikes within the last 5 minutes. So yellow is happening now, white, and then it turns to gray, and then it fades out the older it gets. But look at that. Now we're up to 88. So that's pretty wild to be able to measure that as well. Now, lightning is not a factor in a severe thunderstorm warning. Kind of wild to think about, right? Hail and wind are. That'll trigger a severe thunderstorm warning. Lightning will not. There's just no real criteria for that. But I'll tell you, 83 lightning strikes in 5 minutes, that's pretty loud. I mean, that could set off car alarms, right? I mean, that's really a big deal, and that's something that, you know, we look for as well when we're talking about thunderstorms, and when we're nowcasting, so to speak, is we're watching that as well, because that's a huge factor, right? I mean, your kids might be waking up, right, in the middle of the night because of your house shaking with all the lightning and all the thunder.
It was constant. The lightning, the thunder, the heavy rain. It just did not stop. Relentless was the word I was using earlier and yesterday. It was so bright, and the thunder was so loud. You could tell it was just storm after storm developing right on top of each other. It really was incredible.
So I'm sure it was like a light show. It almost felt like it was daytime outside, because it was probably just like somebody was taking pictures at your window. That's probably what it was like. OMG, like, I have never even seen anything like that, and I've lived through a lot of thunderstorms, and I've never seen that many lightning strikes. He was just counting them, and they were just happening. Like, that's insane.
And happy to report, my children slept. They did not wake up.
Oh, wow. They're good sleepers, deep sleepers.
Meanwhile, my husband and I were in the basement with towels the entire time. So we consider ourselves lucky compared to a lot of people who have lost a lot from these devastating floods. So our hearts go out to you guys, and we will continue to keep you updated throughout the next couple of days, throughout the next couple of weeks, for as long as it takes to recover from this really historic event. We have plenty more coming up on Wisconsin Weather Experts. We're going to take a quick live look outside at the airport. We're dry, we're calm, we'll take it. We have a little bit more coming up. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back, you guys. Thank you for tuning in here to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Now, we talked about all of the flooding that has pretty much happened and really devastated the area with the amount of water that we received from Saturday night all the way through Sunday. And we even talked about the lightning within a lot of these storms as well. But we have something that's a little bit more fluffier and lighter for you. We're going to talk about Lake Michigan Day here. So we're celebrating accomplishments and addressing challenges. Those were on the docket last Friday in Manitowoc. It was all a part of the 12th annual Lake Michigan Day. Fox 11's Eric Peterson has our story from the lakeshore.
With hundreds of miles of Lake Michigan shoreline, Lakeshore Natural Resource Partnership Interim Executive Director Amy Lentz says this great lake has a lot to offer. She says there are challenges.
I think that climate change is always going to be a key challenge, and global warming. I think that our coastal communities are in a position right now where they really need to invest in infrastructure.
From environmentalists to educators, about 60 people filled the Riverview Room at the Wisconsin Maritime Museum in Manitowoc. Nancy Grimaldo Ratana is one of the keynote speakers. She says her area of concern is in the Milwaukee area.
Years of manufacturing and pollution, led to a variety of different issues in the water system in Milwaukee.
As a member of the Community Advisory Committee, she says the group helps those who are impacted every step of the way.
These projects are designed by scientists, environmental scientists, in a cubicle behind closed doors, and we're working to change that. We're working to improve that by promoting public input, public comment, creating a feedback loop, a feedback mechanism where we're, again, authentically engaging with our neighbors and our residents.
Lake Michigan stakeholders say from a restoration project in Port Washington to expanding the Big Plant Initiative, there is room to celebrate. Amy Lentz says working as a team is key.
And each of us is doing our part, and each of us is protecting our watersheds. And when we're able to come together like this, we're able to see that our impact is so significantly magnified by all of the other people who are doing the same work as us.
In Manitowoc, Eric Peterson, Fox 11 News.
Got to take care of our beautiful lake, right? And
Yes.
that goes with, the complications of some of the higher waves that we see and how we deal with beach erosion and everything surrounding it. But I just like that we have a Lake Michigan Day. Right?
I know. I discovered there's a 414 day. So now there's a Lake Michigan Day.
Yes.
And I like the idea of Lake Michigan Day as well. I mean, it reminds me sort of Earth Day, but it's literally only geared towards Lake Michigan and helping it. So yeah, I think that that's really cool, and I hope to see more projects come out of that as well.
Me too. I like that there's dialogue and conversation around that. Let's take a live look outside right now in Milwaukee, where we are thankful for sunshine and dry weather after the weekend that we just experienced. We have someone to honor on the other side of the break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have an icon to honor, and that is Apollo 13 Commander and Milwaukee product, James Lovell. He died last week, unfortunately. Now, NASA confirmed that he died in Lake Forest, Illinois on Friday. So after growing up in Milwaukee, going to Juneau High School, and then UW-Madison, Lovell became one of NASA's most traveled astronauts during the agency's first decade. The Navy captain went to space 4 times, including Apollo 8, the first crew to leave Earth's orbit and circle the moon, sending back the famous pale blue dot photograph of Earth. But Apollo 13, the failed mission to land on the moon, is perhaps what he is best known for. Tom Hanks played him in a movie. He would have been the 5th person to walk on the moon. Instead, he calmly navigated his crew's safe return to Earth, which is incredible. James Lovell, an American hero, was 97 years old. Now, Mayor Cavalier Johnson remembered Lovell in a statement. He wrote, in part, his heroism as an astronaut is well documented. His amiable nature was evident whenever he visited our city. Johnson notes a prominent street is named after Lovell and goes on to say he will always be remembered as a groundbreaking Milwaukeean. And Lovell had a close connection with the EAA up in Oshkosh, which is not too surprising. The organization remembers Lovell as a hero to many of us as we followed the exploits of America's space program in the 1960s and 70s and became known to new generations through the movie Apollo 13. His calm demeanor and focus on the mission were invaluable as commander of the crippled spacecraft during that epic flight in 1970. So he is just an incredible man. Was an incredible man, and I'm sure we will continue to learn from everything that he contributed to.
Yes, what a life he lived. I mean,
Exactly.
he was able to do a lot of things that were memorable and for himself, and now that we'll forever remember as well. And I mean, 97 years old, he lived a really good life, for sure. I mean, yeah, he lived a really good life.
Exactly. I'm proud to claim him as a Milwaukeean. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. We are going to continue in the days ahead to focus in on the Milwaukee historic flooding. But for now, have a great afternoon.